adding up what they told us we are. So, if a black man in England is not African American, what is he then? What is he then? Yo.
A black man.
Well, remember, we got brown skin. Because people from India, what's your name, bro? Stephen and John. I'm Bethel. A black man, people from India are brown. The people with the dots on their forehead, right?
Yeah.
Why they don't call them black? What makes, how do you know who's black? Nipsey Hussle was from Ethiopia. He was what's called Eritrean. Nipsey Hussle was an Ethiopian. He wasn't an African American.
And he was lighter than you.
Yeah, he's about the same color as me, probably. But his features are different than Negro's features. His features are a little different. You remember Manute Bol?
Yeah.
You probably too young to remember him, but he was one of the tallest African basketball players in the NBA. Tall, real dark, and real skinny. Totally different than Michael Jordan.
Exactly.
Totally different. Michael Jordan doing this, flying through the air. The Africans are less mobile. We not Africans, man. When the last time an African nation tried to get us back home? If we African, why no African nations going to war with America for the things they did to us? Who's trying to make treaties with America to get us back? Nobody. They ain't about to let you go. They ain't about to let you go because we're not African and nobody's caring that we over here. Why would Africans come? Why would Africans come to America?
Are we descendants?
Nah, we're not descendants of them. Africans sold us to the so-called white man. They sold us. Who's gonna sell their brothers to another nation if you're not an enemy of that people? They want you to think everybody that's dark is African. But that's not true. Everybody's not African. Africa is a continent made up of over 48 different countries. 53 to be exact, if I'm not mistaken. So you got to be from a particular country in Africa. If we're Africans, what African are we? There's Nigerians, there's Ethiopians, Kenyans, Zaire, Congo. You know what I mean? Lebanese. Which Africans are we?
We was already here. Some of us was already here.
You will be correct. Now, if you look,
Is that true?
that's true.
We was already here.
During the Buffalo Wars, is that it? No, it's over here. Over here, there's a joint with skulls on it, right here. That happened in the late 1800s, called the Buffalo Wars, where the Native Americans. I'm about to read it to you out this. I'm about to read it to you out the.
Deuteronomy 28:31.
Yep, that's the curse that's gonna happen to God's people for disobedience. Where's let me get it for y'all. These are a lot of the different books. This right here is proof of the existence of UFOs. You remember our ancestors used to sing a song, "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot"? Coming for the what? Carry me home. What they were talking about. What they make chariots gonna swing low and carry you home. Then we got a document right there with a white man talking about UFOs are real. So this is the book. I want you to see 103 amazing facts about the black Indian of the Western Hemisphere. All right. This is fact number 11.
Okay. I'm ready to cut you off.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna. But I'm gonna ask you a question about it.
Yes, sir.
See, right here.
Uh-huh.
Those are definitions. This is Judah American blacks.
Right. This is what the world calls you. This is what God calls you. Benjamin, Levi, Judah. Those are the southern tribes of the kingdom of Israel. Then you got the other 10 tribes, or 10 and a half, 9 and a half tribes.
So the moving roots, Jufaray.
The who?
Jufaray.
Jufaray?
Yeah.
What you mean?
Okay, I looked at the movie,
Uh huh.
and what's his name? He portrayed Kunta Kinte.
Okay, Roots.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
So he said that he's a Mandingo warrior
Mandingo. Okay.
from the tribe Jufaray.
Jufaray. You think they meant Judah?
That's what I'm asking you.
I'm not too. I haven't seen it in its entirety. I watched a little bit of it, and I was so upset. I just had to turn it off. I couldn't take it. You know, these folks have done so much to us. You know what I mean? It's incredible, man. I'll take that back.
American blacks are called
Called Judah. You be an Israelite from the tribe of Judah.
But I'm saying, Alex Haley wrote the book.
Alex Haley, yeah. But I never read the book. I've only seen a little bit of the movie, so there's not too much I can expound on with the movie. Yeah. So right here it says, fact number 11, the dark-skinned natives indigenous to the Western Hemisphere, aka Indians, were reclassified during the 17 and 1800s as Negroes and coloreds. It says here, fact 13, the dark-skinned natives who did not mix their seeds still endure. The U.S. government has reclassified most as Black Americans or African Americans. So this comes into play because during this time, the Native Americans, we had the buffalo. And as long as we had the buffalo, we had a source of food, and we would use their hide to make our clothing. Yeah. But what the U.S. government did was destroy. Look at that mountain right there. They're standing on a mountain of skulls. They used the U.S. Army, and they used I don't know what the word is. Like if you go hire people, like henchmen type deal. Yeah, like assassins. They used them, and they hired militia to kill.
And they were our own people, for real. They were black.
Who? The Native Americans?
No, not the people that they hired.
Well, during the late 1800s, the late 1800s, we weren't free yet. We were still under slavery.
Okay, and I'm saying that, but they used the people in slavery to
yeah, they did do that. They did do that too, but we were ignorant, you know. So during that time, what they did was killed off all the buffalo to make us dependent on the government. Like right now, if we want food, if we need food assistance, we go to the government, and there's always a catch, right? Because if our women or our family need food assistance, we go to the government, and then they tell you what, if we give you these food stamps, your baby daddy can't live in the house. Now you got a family that's going to be raised without a father. Now you're going to have a bunch of children, young men, emotional men being raised based off how they learn from their mother who's emotional. So now the next thing you know, instead of me talking my problems out with you, I want to get a pistol because I'm so emotional because I've been raised by a woman my whole life. Because the government told my mama, you can't have the man in the house if you want food stamps. Your baby daddy can't live here. A lot of the brothers that's living in the projects are living there illegally because they can't be on the lease. Because the government made it that way so that it keeps the family home separated. That's what was going on in the late 1800s. Because when they killed off the buffalo, now the Native Americans who was independent, who didn't need the government for nothing, now we got to come to you to get food because you killed off all our food.
With the end of the Civil War in 1865, the United States sent its war-hardened soldiers on a crusade to settle the West. Led by the growing dogma of manifest destiny, the U.S. claimed the God-given right to expand its borders from sea to shining sea. Damn any man who sympathizes with Indians. I have come to kill Indians and believe it is right and honorable to use any means under God's heaven to kill them. In 1868, unable to defeat the warriors of the Sioux, Cheyenne, and Arapaho nations fighting to protect our lands and people, for the first time in its history, the United States appealed for peace and drafted the Second Treaty of Fort Laramie. The treaty established the Great Sioux Reservation, including the Black Hills, and unceded Indian Territory to be set apart for the absolute and undisturbed use and occupation of the Indians, and that no white person or persons shall be permitted to settle upon or occupy any portion of the Indian Territory. Unable to defeat our free Lakota people with military might, the U.S. government increased the use of deceptive practices to subvert our matriarchal system and to create the appearance of agreement when our lands and rights were stolen. It is my purpose to utterly exterminate the Sioux. They are to be treated as maniacs or wild beasts, and by no means as people with whom treaties or compromise can be made. Just 3 years later, in 1871, the U.S. government ceased to recognize Indian nations as sovereign and independent with the passage of the Indian Appropriation Act. This legislation legalized the theft of our treaty-protected lands and further threatened our way of life with our buffalo relatives. The civilization of the Indians is impossible while the buffalo remain upon the plains. The mass slaughter of our buffalo relatives, the Tatanka Oyate, lasted from 1871 until 1910. In just the first 7 years, buffalo hunters decimated the great herds of buffalo, nearly to extinction. The U.S. Army encouraged the slaughter by providing free ammunition and supplies. In 1873 alone, buffalo hunters massacred more than 1.5 million buffalo. As planned, our people became increasingly dependent on the U.S. government for even the most basic of human needs, like food, clothing, and shelter.
You killed off all our food. You took our clothing. Now we got to come to you with a handout. And when we come to you with that handout, you stick us in lines, and now you start reclassifying. You want this? You're going to be colored. You're going to be a Negro. You're not going to be Native American. Because if any of you can trace your lineage to have any Native American blood, you then get to go to school for free. You get the reservation, then you get land. You get subsidies. You get all types of assistance because this is your land. But when they reclassify you as Negro and African American and colored, you now have no entitlement no more. Because where's the African American homeland? Where's your homeland? Some will say Africa, but where would you, if I dropped you in Africa, where would you then go? And the worst part, if they dropped you in Africa, you might end back up in a slave trade because they have an active slave trade going on in Libya.
That still exists?
It still exists. They don't talk about that. All they want to do is talk about Iraq and Palestine and Israel, but they're not talking about the active slavery going on over there right now. There's videos on YouTube of slaves getting their arms cut off, getting their genitals cut off. This is going on right now.
This is not where these migrants want to be, heading back to the African continent, thanks to aid from the Italian government to reinforce Libya's coast guard. It's helped cut the number of migrants arriving in Italy to under 22,000 in the last 3 months. It's the lowest total for 4 years. But people trafficking networks in Libya continue to flourish because of government chaos as rival groups battle for power. These Ivorians, repatriated to the Ivory Coast from Libya, say they risk being sold into slavery.
They sell Africans over there. In Libya, they sell men. Even 15-year-old Libyans are there in a car, they're armed. They'll come and kidnap you, and they'll sell you for $70 to $150. And then others will resell you.
As soon as you arrive in Libya, the first thing that happens is that you are taken away and sold. Our black brothers from West Africa, wherever you are from, a Malian, a Senegalese, or any other nationality from the West, even an Ivorian, you are sold. And for what? $700.
But these migrants will tell you that life is so hard in their home country that it's worth almost any risk to make a new start in Europe.
Now, with the advent of the smartphone and with Facebook and others pushing into Africa, a youngster can meet a smuggler in 2 seconds on a phone. Now, nothing has been done to challenge that. They think they're following a dream to Europe. They end up in the maw, in the grip of these rapacious smugglers.
Despite increased patrols, the UN says more than 160,000 people have made it across the Mediterranean to Europe this year. About 3,000 have drowned en route. Bernard Smith, Al Jazeera.
But what y'all know about African American history. How did we get to America?
Well, I always thought they kept the brothers over on ships.
On ships. Right. Now watch, pay attention. I'm going to read y'all 3 scriptures, maybe 4, and paint a nice picture for you. Pay attention, because I'm going to ask you questions as we read this. This is the Bible. This is not a religious book. The white man took our history book and made it into a religion, and then gave you, where he at? He gave you that man at the bottom down there and told you that's Jesus. Jesus don't look like that. He looked like the brother at the top. All right? So this is Deuteronomy chapter 1.
That's the Hebrews, right?
What? The Hebrews, right? That's the language we used to speak.
That's what I'm saying when you spoke about him. The black man, the Hebrew.
In Revelation chapter 1, that's where it spoke about the color of Christ.
No, I'm talking about eyes like a coal of fire, your hair like wool.
Yeah, that's in Revelation chapter 1.
Oh, is that in Hebrew?
Nah, not in Hebrews. We can read it. I can read it. Before I go there, I'll read it for you. How about that? Revelation. You were close, though. You were close. Revelation chapter 1, verse 1. It says, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John. So, revelation, root word, reveal. The revealing of Jesus Christ. All right? So, I'm going to jump to verse 10. I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, and heard behind me a great voice as of a trumpet, saying, I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last. And what thou seest, write in a book, and send it unto the 7 churches which are in Asia, and unto Ephesus, and unto Smyrna, and unto Pergamos, and unto Thyatira, and unto Sardis, and unto Philadelphia, and unto Laodicea. Verse 12. And I turned to see the voice that spake with me, and being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks. Now remember, John is writing down what he's commanded. He said, what thou seest, write it in a book. So now John's going to turn. He sees somebody, he hears somebody talking. He turns to see, he sees 7 golden candlesticks. It says, and in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. So Jesus got on a long garment with a golden girdle. Who dressed like that? We do. We get fly like that. Our man, when we got on belts, we got on an Hermes belt, Gucci belt. That's the main thing you're going to see on that man's belt is his buckle. Jesus, likewise, flossing like we do, because we the same people. It says, verse 14, his head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. So, our people talk loud. It says,
well, let me see something.
You all right? Revelation, right? Not Hebrews, right?
Yeah, but it's in Hebrews too, bro.
In Hebrews, it talks about how our Lord is out of the tribe of Judah. It doesn't talk about his description. The only other place you find his description is in the book of Daniel, chapter 10. But right here, it says he has hair like wool. Like my brother here, he has hair like wool. We typically have hair like wool. It says as white as snow. So why they gave you this Leonardo DiCaprio looking brother right here? Right? Christ don't look like that. Christ look more like Morgan Freeman, man. Right? But what we see is it says his feet was like unto fine brass, as if it burned in a furnace. Your feet, the rest of your color, same color as your body, ain't it? So how you get this white image right there, man? Who is that? Now, if you was to Google, right? If you that man you've been given right there is a man named what's the man name? Caesar Borgia, or Cesare Borgia. He was the son of Pope Alexander VI, Rodrigo Borgia. So when Rodrigo Borgia's son died, they wanted to immortalize him as a god. So he basically took his son, and Leonardo da Vinci painted the images that you see of Caesar Borgia. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show you.
I believe you, bro.
But you got to see Jesus in this. You got to see that white man with. You always see him like that. You about to see that white man with a hat on. Caesar Borgia.
According to Wikipedia, Cesare Borgia.
I got you the bathroom.
Right. Ain't that Jesus? Yeah. But look how he got the hat on now. But that's Caesar Borgia. You never see him like that. That's who they gave you as Jesus Christ, but that's really just the man who posed for the picture. That's a lie. But who told you that lie? Who told you Jesus looked like that? The white man. Now watch what this said right here. Revelations chapter 12 and verse 9. It says, "And that great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels was cast out with him." So who told you Jesus was white? The white man. Who told you you was black and you got brown skin?
Go back. You say he was cast out with his angel?
Yeah. Revelations chapter...
So you talking about the archangel, right?
Nah, I'm talking about the pastors. The pastors that you go to church, those are the angels of Satan, man. Watch what it says. It says, "And that great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him." Now I'm going to prove that those angels are the pastors. Watch this.
Okay, I got you.
Okay, 2 Corinthians 11. Because we just read the color of Christ in this Bible. Me and you, we grew up as little boys in the church reading the same book. How the pastors gave you...
I grew up in the church. I started out as a Baptist.
Right. So how is it that all our life we went to church and the color of Christ is in here, but they hung that white image on the wall? 2 Corinthians 11. It says, verse 12, "But what I do that I will do, that I may cut off occasion from them which desire occasion, that wherein they glory, they may be found even as we. For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ." You know who these people are, right? You know who that is? T.D. Jakes, Joel Osteen, Creflo Dollar. It says, "For such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. And no marvel, for Satan himself transformed into an angel of light. Therefore it is no great thing if his ministers be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works." So if Satan don't look like a monster, man.
No.
He don't look like a man with horns and a pitchfork.
He come to you and look beautiful to you.
Satan gonna look beautiful to you.
He
gonna tell you all the things you want to hear. God loves everybody. But meanwhile, me and you was on the plantation for 500 years. 400 years of slavery, 150 years of oppression. Because when we came off the plantation, we had to deal with Jim Crow laws. So, but these people will make you okay with how you living. Just tell you, hey, send up a prayer. God forgives you. He loves everybody. But meanwhile, me and you the only ones being gunned down. We the only ones in the ghetto. We the only ones filling up the jail. We the minority in society, but we the majority of the people in jail. But God loves everybody.
Bro, give me, you got a card on
Yes, sir.
Bro.
Yeah.
You remember your card. We need to get together, bro.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is how we get together, though. This is how we supposed to get together. This is church, man. This church ain't in them buildings, bro. That's where they asking for your money, man.
We are the church.
We are the church. Right, my man. We are the church.
I'm gonna get a call, bro.
Yes, sir.